So welcome back, this is part 2 and let's finish off all those weaves. So continuing on, we'll now work on these other 2 wires. There is some weaving wire still attached, so we're going to add the same weaves. We're going to continue with the same weave, and what we're going to do, we're just going to do a few repeats, and we're going to do like this. We're going to do a loop on this side, and it's only going to be a little one, so you're talking about 6 or so repeats. We'll do 8. So I've done 8 repeats of that weave, and I'm going to scoop it around, and the plan is we're going to have a nice little loop that goes over the front and out to the side on this side, like that. Perfect. Got to match it up to the other side. Here Gracie, snoring her head off. Beautiful, really pleased with that, and it's all nice and central. So we're going to add a few more repeats to this side, because we're going to add that other wire, and then we're going to do a slightly bigger weave, but we just need a couple of repeats just to get us into the right place. Keep pushing all your weaves together as you go. So we're going to add the other wire, and we want to join this into this weave. So where this frame comes around here is where I'm going to attach the wire. Fold it in half, so you know where the middle is, and we're going to post it through that bit there. I'm going to add a new piece of weaving wire because I want a nice big long piece, so I'm going to cut that off. She's snoring her head off, she's happy. Right, so we've got it around there, but I want it a bit more secure than that. So I'm going to take the one end around again, so it's nicely attached. So press the wire around the frame nice and tight, and then where the wires come together there, I'm going to squeeze so that they position next to each other. Do you know what I mean? So I've squeezed it so they're next to each other and they're coming out the same place. Slide it all the way around to the bottom there, and now we've got 4 wires we can weave across. We want a nice big 4 wire weave on this side. You can do whatever you want. If you want to do a 2 wire weave up this side, you can do that if you want to, and you can finish it off in a similar way. I've got a lot left to do to this one. I've got a lot of ideas where I'm going with it. So now we're going to weave across the 4 wires, and we're going to bring the weave all the way up to the top. If you look really closely, I don't know if my weaves are going to start right. I'm going to have a gap, so I'm just going to add a few repeats here, and then I'm going to add these wires in. So I've added a new wire, I've added a repeat, and I'm going to go, just going to join the wires together, and then I'm going to start the new repeat. So I've come up between the bottom 2, I'm going to go around the middle 2 wires, and then around the bottom 2 wires. I'll need to keep being adjusted to start with until I'm in the right place. So the repeat is, we do 3 wraps around the bottom wire, go around the bottom 2, go around the bottom 3, come up between the bottom 2, go around the top 3, under the bottom, over the 3rd wire, so we've gone around the bottom 3, over the 2nd, so we go around the bottom 2, then we go 3 wraps around the bottom wire, push it together between repeats, so that's our weave, and we're going to keep repeating that weave. So we go around 2 wires, we go around 3 wires, come up between the bottom 2, we go around the top 3 wires, then we go back under the bottom and around 3 wires, around 2, 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Push it together between each repeat and keep repeating that weave. So I've kept repeating that weave, keep pushing it together between repeats, and I always like to flatten the weave with nylon pliers if you have them. I just think it looks nice. Flatter, I think it looks nice and tidy. So then you need to weave enough for it to reach to the top there. I've run out of wire, I could probably get one more repeat on there. So we need that weave just to reach to the top. So I'm going to squeeze one more repeat out of that little bit of wire. So I added that one more repeat, and I had just enough wire to go around 3 times. I want the 2 back wires from the weave, and I'm going to put them through the loop at the top. The other 2 need to go to the back, so they'll go underneath the loop. So then we pull that all the way through, and we position the weave all the way against the tree. So the top 2 wires come through the loop. And bend those out to the right. When we've got the weave in place, you want the weave nice and low at the top, so it's almost touching the frame there. And I want all the wires coming out to this side. So these wires, I'm just going to bend them directly out. So now I'm going to straighten all these wires so they're all next to each other. So I've straightened my wires. I need to cut off these little wire ends here. We'll start with the bottom 2 and we'll weave across those 2 wires. So we'll start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Push that all the way down. And we'll wrap around the 2 wires 3 times, and that's our repeat. So please mention me, a Kelly Jones design, when sharing your finished work online. Please don't show images of the back or in progress, as it gives all my little design secrets away. And thank you to everybody in advance for doing that. I think we'll need about 10. We'll go for 10 repeats of that weave. So I've done 10 repeats of that weave. Need to cut that little tail end off there. So then we're going to bend this weave over. I'm going to bring it around so it comes around lower than the top one, because these two wires are going to come over the top. I want to level those up with that one. So next we're going to take the next wire and I'm going to bend that over to follow. And then I'm going to take the, then I'm going to take the last wire. I push it down first before I scoop it over so I've got more shape at the bottom of the wire. We're going to bring that one around to follow too. And then once you've got it around, just pull it down a little bit. We're trying to match up the heights with that side. Do you know what I mean? So then I'm going to change my weave. I'm going to attach all my wires together and then I'm going to switch this weave onto these two bottom wires here. So we will tie them together a little bit. So I'll come, say we're counting 4 wires now, I'll come up between the bottom 2 and I'll wrap around those middle 2. Then I'll wrap around the bottom 2. So I'm going to wrap twice. Oh, hold on a minute, let me just bend this wire up out the way. So we're just weaving across the bottom 2 wires now. I'm going to wrap 3 times around the bottom 2, come up between those 2, and 3 times around the second wire. So the top wire of those 2. 3 wraps or 2? So that's 3 wraps. So we're going to keep repeating that weave. 3 wraps around the 2 wires, 3 wraps around the 1 wire. We're going to bring that weave around to follow along the inside there of that weave. So I've added repeats to those, of that weave to those wires, and I'm just going to shape it around so we don't add too many repeats. I just want it to follow the weave. So I'd like to part the wires at the bottom. I'm obviously not going to do this because this weave is going to sit inside that weave, but I'd like to part the wires and do a little bit of this weave. So I'm going to undo a few repeats and then just bring the wire across, because I've got some bare wires here that I want to hide and this looks a bit messy. So I'm just going to bring the wire across. I'll show you. So I'm just going to undo a few repeats there. So I've undone some repeats there. I've also pushed the wire back at the top there so it meets the weave nicely. So here I'm going to cut my weaving wire and I'm going to attach to the frame so it holds this weave down in place. And then I'm going to part my wires and change the weave to a slightly different weave. Actually, after cut my wire, the bobbin just fell off because it's quite short. I got about 30 inches on there, so it's still got some good length on it. So I'm just going to pop this wire straight through to the back and attach it around the frame. I'll try and get it through without it twisting. So I'm going to part these wires now because they're pulling a bit tight, but that's all I'm going to do. So this one will still follow around to come to here. Maybe I'll follow around as I did for that one because that finished it off quite nicely. And this wire is going to scoop out to the side and we're going to do a different weave. This weave on these two. So I'm going to go around the frame. I'm going to come back through wrap around. Maybe I'll do a repeat and then take it back through and around the frame. So I've done another repeat and I'm going to go around the frame again so it's properly attached down. So I went around a couple of times and then I'll put the wire back up here. So now we're going to do a slightly different weave across these wires. We'll start with a few wraps around this bottom wire. And we'll go over the opposite wire and wrap a couple of times so it's the same weave as what we did before. You come over the opposite wire, you wrap around a couple of times, over the opposite wire, wrap around a couple of times and keep pushing it down on both sides. Keep going until you reach this point here. So I've kept adding repeats and you have to keep pushing it down, and when you think you've done enough you push it down and it moves quite a lot so that you can add more repeats. That's what I found. Oh, try not to bring those wires together because you'll squash all that weave. So we'll finish with a few wraps around the top wire, or either wire, wherever you are. And we'll cut that off. So then what we'll do is this wire is going to come up between and we'll follow around like we did with this one, and this wire is going to go over the side. So really pull your weave down, hold it in place and take this wire over and really press it over. Try not to bend, try not to let the wires come together. And then this wire is going to come around and follow the loop. So I'm going to bend that right the way to the end, post the end through the frame and then carefully push that wire through and reshape it, trying not to bend the weave or bring the weave wires together. So get that wire where you want it to be. And then have a look on the back and see where the wire falls. So you can attach it to this frame anywhere you like, wherever is best for you, wherever that wire meets the frame. So I'm going to attach my wire here where the two frame wires meet, because it keeps the shape and it keeps the join out of view. So at the back, I'll cut that wire. Then take my round nose pliers and bring it around the frame. It's gonna move loads. So have a look, put it back where you want it to be. Try and hold that in place and tighten up that wire at the back. So when you've got it in place at the front, squeeze it in place at the back. So you're not pulling it, you're just squeezing it around the wires there. Then we'll cut off the excess and press that last little end around. So when that's in place, We can now push this weave over the side. So I'm just going to attach that wire. So looking at the back, I'm just going to take that wire around the frame. So you want a gap between, around the frame, just so you can get your wire in there. Holding that weave, it shouldn't move. The other end's attached. I'm just going to bring it around, post it around that wire, the frame. Cut off the excess, post the little end around and press it around the frame nice and tightly to secure it. These two wires now, I'm going to bring this one around to follow, and this one is going to scoop out to the side. So this wire comes down, and where it meets here, where the weaves change, I'm going to take a little bit of weaving wire. Got this little bit left. I'm going to wrap a few times around that wire. Slide it into place, and where the wire comes to there, I'm going to attach it to the frame. So I'm going to pop that wire through, or you can go between the weave. I can see between my weave there. Let me just cut this nasty end off. So we put it in place, and we're just going to tie it down somewhere. So you can either go through the weave, you can go around the weave, you can go between the weaves and go around the frame, whichever is easiest for you. So I've gone through the weave, pull it through so that wire's pulled down nice and tightly, and then I'll post it back through. So I've actually gone around the bar, so I can just go back through this side and it'll tie it down to that bar instead. Pop it back through to the front. And that'll hold it down in place. So I'll wrap around that again. What I want to do is, this wire, I'm going to bring it across this weave a little bit. So I'm going to bring it round where I want it to sit, pull it nice and tight against the back there, and then add a few wraps around that wire so it's held. Cut the wire at both ends. And Gracie's snoring her head off. She's happy. Press those little cut ends. Finish this wire around the frame there. So I'm just going to cut it and press it around the frame. It's going out over the side. And I'm going to finish that one around the frame. Same as before, make a space between all around the wire so we can go around the top of those wraps there. So take that length of wire that you've just cut off. Let's have a look how long it is. It's just over 4 inches. Just 12 centimetres, and we're going to attach the end to here. I just want to add a little something to the other side, and rather than start adding loads of long wires, we could just re-add in what we've cut off, save wasting it. just put some hand cream on. I'm a bit slippy. But yet wrap around and press the end tightly around that frame. Wriggle it down and then holding the bottom in place, we'll bring this wire around and we'll follow this side and just bring it around to follow the weave. It just gives it a bit of something extra on that side. Take the wire behind the loop, push it back in place where I want it. So then I'm going to take the wire quite tightly. I'm going to bring it around the bead, so I'm coming over that loop there and around, push it down where it was. So I've gone around the loop. Make sure it's where you want it to be. And then we're going to post it through between those two weaves there. I'm going to squash this bend and I'm going to tip it at the same time. Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to twist this a little bit and squash it like that, so it goes around there. And then holding that in place, I'm going to take it around the inner weave. So I'm just making sure I've got the space there with my pliers, and I'm going to take the end around that weave. So there's not much left to do now. I know this has been a long one. I'd normally save the longer ones for the written tutorials, but I wanted to do a video, so I just thought I'll do a video of it, see how it goes, see how long it is. I've gone around the frame instead. It was a bit easier. Before you squeeze it into place, just check the shaping on the front is still where you want it to be, and that's that wire finished. So now we just need to add the little jump ring on the top. So I've added a slightly larger jump ring so that it really stands a bit prouder there. Let's have a look what size it is. I just thought it would be easier to attach the cord to. So that's 10 millimeters outside measurement. You can put a smaller one on if you want to, it'll look just as good. So it's finally finished, and wow, that was a long one. Okay, so I've oxidised mine. If you'd like help oxidising yours, I've done videos on oxidising and aftercare. I'll put links in the description below. I really like how it turned out. I really love all the little details in there. Change it as much as you like when you're making yours. You can do bigger weaves, smaller weaves, you can add more beads, you can add more wires, you can easily add more wires. You can even, as you added to the frame there to bring this wire down, the single one at the end, you can also add to this weave if you want to bring more wires up. You could add a smaller stone in the gaps if you wanted to. You can add a nice round bead here at the bottom, would be nice. You can really do whatever you want with it. Do it all before you oxidise it. I'm not going to be adding anything else now. I do think if I should have added a bead at the bottom there, I think it needs something in that space. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thank you to all my patrons for your support. I really appreciate you guys. You make it possible for me to keep making all these videos. So thanks for watching. I will see you all very soon in the next one. And I've got another ring planned for you, so that'll be soon. See you all soon. Bye.